I recently took a trip to Houston, Texas, and while the sole purpose of the trip wasn't to find records, I made some time. Don't expect a massive haul though. I'm not Matt from Too Many Records or Frank from Channel 33 RPM. I did pick up some stuff. Stay tuned for my favorite shops. I'm just kidding. Urban Outfitters is the last place I'd go to look for records, but my curiosity got the best of me, and I've never been before, so I decided to take a look. Immediately, I could see why the rest of the vinyl community isn't really fond of Urban Outfitters. There were a lot of lower end turntables, which a lot of people don't really recommend. Sorry for the tight shots in Urban Outfitters. It was in a mall, so I was trying to keep a low profile. I really didn't intend to buy anything. There were a couple of albums that did catch my eye, and there's this Sam Hunt record. Say what you will about Urban Outfitters. They do a really good job at keeping their stock up to date, even if the albums are something I couldn't picture people spending money on. And speaking of albums I couldn't imagine someone spending money on, my god, this album was bad. It's hard to imagine anyone putting Eminem in contention as the GOAT when this album exists. Talk about a midlife crisis. And then there's Russ.
Mentally fucked the shit out of her.
They also had variant covers. This one is Dance Gavin Dance's Artificial Selection. It looks really cool. I would have picked it up if I didn't already have it. Surprisingly, Urban Outfitters carries a lot of variants. Jid's The Never Story, Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory, and the High School Musical soundtrack for some reason. They also had massive stock of certain albums. They had a lot of copies of Brand New's latest release, Science Fiction, which I felt went a little under the radar due to Jesse Lacey's issue. And I guess the massive stock of Damn was the music industry's way of apologizing for giving the thrift shop guy a Grammy over the masterpiece known as Good Kid, Mad City. I didn't expect to get anything on this trip, but I did end up picking something up. This really isn't his best work. I personally preferred Beer Bongs and Bentleys, but I like the album for what it is. It's mostly hip-hop influenced, but you can also get some country, some pop, some rock, and his music really intrigues me based off of that merit alone. It also comes with alternate art, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out that this was on orange vinyl. My first real shop was Six Lagoon, a seemingly small shop, but the moment I stepped inside, I was blown away. While it seems small on the outside, the selection was amazing. As you can see there's a pressing of All Eyes on Me, which I believe was an early pressing. However, it was kind of beat up, and I couldn't imagine paying $40 for it. There's also a few in there that made me laugh, like Return of the Bumpasaurus, Booty 101, The Forbidden Dances, a strip club one for all you DJs out there, and Booty Essentials. That Death Row comp was super tempting, but it was more than the Tupac, I believe. I was also looking for some MF Doom, which I didn't find here. Let me tell you something about the Pentatonics. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with their music. I believe that they're all super talented singers, and they're from Texas, so represent. The problem was throughout high school I was in choir, and every year there would be a group of kids that would try to mimic the Pentatonics or do a piece by the Pentatonics. The only problem is that it was really difficult. They're Grammy Award-winning artists, so obviously their stuff would be a little complex for some high school kids to understand. So I think it maybe only panned out once, and every other time it was just kind of bad. Another problem I have with them is that a lot of these kids who are in the arts that listen to the Pentatonics feel like listening to their a cappella arrangements of pop songs as supplements for the actual songs itself is somehow making them better. I really don't know. And you know what sucks is that any kid who was a mediocre beatboxer in high school got offered a gig to be in a Pentatonics wannabe group, and it never panned out. I drink to forget so I can enjoy their music again. Too bad I'm also poor. Sorry, that's all I gotta say about that. I was also looking for some Pearl Jam, but they didn't have what I was looking for here either. there's an early pressing of Def Leppard's Hysteria, which had a lot of their biggest hits. I found a copy at Waterloo Records in Austin a year or so back for $5 sealed. This one was $27 and not sealed. When I thought the shop had more new than used, I was kind of disappointed, but then I turned around and found a staircase that led to the best part of the shop, the used and vintage section. So once I found what I wanted, I made my way back down. I noticed a little loft with a bed and pillow and a fake skeleton, so that was kind of neat. Another thing that made this store stick out was the amount of posters covering the wall. It gave the shop a very unique look that I will for sure remember. And before I talked about what I picked up, I'll leave you with one last shot of this shop. The new section was pretty standard for a record shop. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I'm out of town, I usually always try to buy used records. I picked up an original pressing of Def Leppard's debut effort, On Through the Night. This was one of their heavier albums before they went full-on glam metal, the other album being High and Dry. Speaking of glam rock, I also picked up an original copy of Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of glam rock, but Motley Crue were always my favorite because they always seem to have a bit more of an edge. This album, in my opinion, is their finest work. I don't think they ever did release anything better than this record. That it also comes with a gatefold. So that was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't really familiar with Motley Crue pressings or this album, but I do own it on CD, and it only made sense to pick it up on vinyl. My next stop was Vinyl Edge Records, a really cool little shop. I thought I was going to get lucky when this was the first record I saw when I walked in, but yeah. I forgot how much Ramones pressings could cost, but with my luck in vintage Ramones pressings, this one will come back to me. I also came across a copy of Chrome Neon Jesus by Teenage Wrist. I didn't pick it up then. I got it at a show of theirs when they opened up for Citizen. There's the Culture Club, which will forever make me think of The Wedding Singer. Here's some stories so far for all you pop punk fans. That record should go quick. I almost picked up this Dangerous Toys album, but my picks from the last shop were very much 80s rock, so I passed and went right for the hip-hop section. Of course, the obligatory copy of Damn. They also had the signed version behind the counter. I see this Yachty record all the time at my local shop. I got excited when I saw MF Doom, but then I saw it was empty. Better luck next time, maybe? This shop had a lot of good stuff, but I really didn't see anything that I couldn't find at my local record shop. Until I got to a crate with records priced $10 and under, then I came across this. I'm not a huge fan of Bayside. I mean, I jammed The Walking Wounded in middle school, but that's about it. But then I saw this record, and it was only $4. That's cheaper than on Amazon. And this record was also black with pink splatter, another score, because someone is trying to sell it on Discogs for $22.99. I looked out, and I'm really looking forward to hearing this album. My last stop was Cactus Music. This was probably the biggest shop of the three. Its layout was very similar to Waterloo Records in Austin, Texas, albeit on a slightly smaller scale. This place, I didn't have to keep a low profile, and it was big enough to where I could just film without anyone batting an eye. The first 3 aisles when you walk in are mostly CDs. If you collect CDs, I recommend here out of the 3 I visited. Here's a Mac DeMarco cutout that I thought was funny. And they also had promotional art boards for sale, which I never seen before, and a stage for live performances. Here's a new arrivals section. I always check here first. There was an original press of Iron Maiden's Killers and a deluxe version of Touche Amore's latest effort. That Doors album was also pretty cool. There's a separate room for more records, which is where I found my picks for this shop. While I didn't have much luck with MF Doom at this shop, I did find a record that was out of stock last time I checked my local shop. Pearl Jam's 10. I love this album. It's probably one of my favorite albums of the grunge era, and might even be one of my favorite albums of the 90s. I also found this on my way to checkout. It's 25 singles from the 80s for $8. Now, I know I said I wouldn't buy any singles on this trip to myself, but I mean, it's the 80s and it was $8. Like, I had to. So let's go ahead and get this thing open and see what we got. was maybe 1 or 2 pairs of doubles, but I did take a chance at buying 25 random singles. If you're in the Houston area, I recommend checking out all of these shops. I guarantee you will find something that you love. And that's all I have for today. If you stayed this long, you're the best. This has been Going on Record.